It is the holiday season, Christmas time, everything, Yuletide cheer, cup of eggnog, which I didn't get yet, but I will soon will, and drink that down and mix it with alcohol like brandy, and then have a fun time. Holidays have been quite, hopefully better, but there've been ups and downs lately. But hey, I'm back at creating stuff. I'm back at editing videos. This video is coming late in the day. I know I was planning to do this earlier, but whatever. Uh, so I have 3 holiday films that are new and one that's old that I wanted to talk about because it's been a while since I've said anything Christmassy. I never had a complete Christmas game. Well, Batman Arkham Origins, that's continuing soon. I am gonna try and finish it in the next stream that I'm gonna do probably tomorrow or maybe Friday. I don't know. I had to really get my schedule really fixed there. I'm probably gonna do a really early stream to just try and get it out there before I become busy during that time. I don't know. Maybe I'll do tonight. It depends on my mood. But anyway, let's get right into talking about these movies. These first one on our list, we're gonna go by order of holiday. Let's finally talk about Thanksgiving. If anyone who is too young or probably, haven't been around during the 2000s, there was a time where Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino were like really close. Like inseparable. Like they collabed on a lot of stuff during the 90s and the 2000s. They did From Dusk Till Dawn, they did Four Rooms, Desperado, to name a few things that they did together. Kill Bill Volume 2. They did a lot together, but their biggest collab effort that they did together that didn't do well in theaters because, the gimmick of it sounded cool, but some people were like thinking, well, why weren't they, shown separate? So they had a movie called Grindhouse, which pitted against a double feature movie that these directors made, Planet Terror and Death Proof. Both I actually enjoyed and still do watch to this day because I both have them on DVD. We don't want to talk about those movies now because a lot of people have talked about them to death already. My opinions are kind of different and kind of the same. But we're going to talk about the trailers that came with those movies. These fake trailers to movies that probably were never going to be made regardless, but they were made. And people actually enjoyed them. So far, during that time, there were 2 movies that got made that were fake trailers. There was Machete, and there was Hobo with a Shotgun. Both got made. Both were actually pretty entertaining films. Well, I haven't seen that much of Hobo with a Shotgun. I saw bits and pieces of that movie when I was young, but not the whole thing. All I know is Rutger Hauer stars as the Hoblo. What the fuck am I saying? And that was it. There was another trailer. There were other trailers that weren't made into movies yet. Edgar Wright had a fake horror movie called Don't that he made that was kind of very more comedic and humorous, and was also, as he puts it, was making fun of British horror movies at the time that were marketed in the US, and they made sure that no dialogue was spoken in the trailer because at the time, I'm guessing British movies didn't sell well in the US, which is kind of bullshit because don't the US like James Bond? I don't know. um, and then there was Rob Zombie, who made uh, a Nazi exploitation film called Women from the SS. Werewolf Women of the SS, I think it was called. I don't remember the title. And I thought that movie looked ridiculous and stupid as shit. But I was like thinking, man, I wish Rob Zombie made that film because it looks fucking stupid, but I want to see it. Yeah, because I feel like that man could have made that movie, but he hasn't yet, which I kind of feel like he should. And I feel like he could do something with it that you know isn't like what Machete did, or Hobo with a Shotgun did. Make it actual B movie where it felt like the director of that B movie thought he was making art, or actually making a role movie that was serious, which he understood the assignment pretty well with what he did. So I hope he makes that. And then there was the other trailer by Eli Roth. Oh, wait. And that was Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was that horror movie trailer that was so silly, ridiculous, funny, and also gory as well. Where Eli Roth said that there has been a holiday horror movie of almost everything except Thanksgiving. And he's talking about more like there hasn't been a slasher movie that took place in Thanksgiving. And he's not wrong. There's slasher movies of April Fool's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, which is Silent Night, Deadly Night. What else was there? Oh, My Bloody Valentine. That's also one. Leprechaun, because I mean, I know it's on St. Patrick's Day, but Leprechaun still technically kind of counts in that ballpark. There was a holiday movie that was a slasher film, and everything except for Thanksgiving was made as a slasher. Here, we're not going to count other horror movies that took place in Thanksgiving. No, we are specifically talking about the slasher genre. And he made a good trailer that made me convinced that, man, I kind of want to see it. Except for a few parts. Yeah, and we'll get to those parts later because I want to talk about each scene that was in the fake trailer and compare it to how he did it in the movie, and whatever if the movie did it better or did the trailer did it better. And we'll get to that. Yeah. He finally made it. He finally made the movie that took about, I'm guessing, 15 years. This is the movie he decided to direct and walk out of Borderlands just to make this movie. Yeah, he really was passionate about wanting to make this horror film. He really was passionate about that. He was like, I'm leaving this mainstream Hollywood high budget film to make my slasher, which, give the man credit, he was very passionate about making this movie. And he finally did it. And is it as good? Was the hype, the wait, worth it in the end? It was fine. I mean, it was fine. It took so long to do this. I mean, is this going to be in my roster of the Grindhouse movies that came out during the whole era of Rodriguez and Tarantino? Well, yeah, of course I'm going to add that to my marathon list. Of course, I'm going to be watching Planet Terror, Death Proof, Machete, Machete Kills as well, um, and Hobo with a Shotgun, which I want to give a proper watching on that one. And then Thanksgiving, of course, I would watch it. I would definitely watch a marathon of these Grindhouse films, just this pure schlock. This pure, like, low budget, like, kind of feel of horror and also type of film I like to see. Because I did enjoy these types of movies that Rodriguez and Tarantino wanted to bring back to the mainstream or bring back to consciousness for newer gens like me at that time. And I think Eli Roth did an excellent job in his Eli Rothness way. If you don't know this, I'm not the biggest Eli Roth fan. I honestly hate so many fucking movies he's done in the past. I hated Hostel. I hated fucking Cabin Fever. I fucking hated Knock Knock. When my dad showed me and my mom Knock Knock, no joke, he did show us Knock Knock. I'm not kidding. It was because we were watching another Keanu Reeves movie, which was Man of Tai Chi. And we were watching that, and we enjoyed the film. I mean, I was watching it a second time. My mom was watching it for the first time. And then Dad was like, hey, let's go and watch another Keanu Reeves movie starring Keanu Reeves, Eli Roth's now ex-wife, and Ana de Armas in her second debut film. Like, Jesus Christ. Anyways, thank God the first movie I saw Ana de Armas was a Todd Phillips film. And not this shit. Knock Knock was a terrible movie, a bad movie, hated it, hated everything about it, thought everything was so stupid. I fucking just want to just rip my fucking eyes out after seeing that film. Have I liked an Eli Roth film before? 2 times. He had a movie called what was it? Oh yeah, he had a movie called Death Wish, which was a remake of the Charles Bronson film, and it starred Bruce Willis. It was okay. I thought it was stupid and silly, but I thought the movie was decent enough and okay, and I was like, all right, that was a okay, decent film starring Bruce Willis. And then there was the movie he did with Jack Black, The House with a Clock in Its Walls. It was a kid's film, and this was Eli Roth's, I think, first kid's film he ever directed. It was silly, it was goofy, but honestly, I thought it was alright. I thought it was just an alright film that he made, which it really did shock me to see him do a kid's film. So those were like the only things I thought were like, it was okay. I might not watch them again, but at least I'm not annoyed with it like his other films. And then we have Thanksgiving, which honestly I thought was decent. I thought was good, actually. It was an decent film. Not a solid one, not a amazing, extraordinary one. No. It was decent. It was a decent horror film that had a lot of excellent kills, had a lot of them gory, which I was like, hell yeah, that was awesome, seeing these gory kills. And actually a pretty good uh, look for a new kind of slasher killer that I thought was very creative. I thought was very interesting because, again, hasn't been done before. A man dressed up like a pilgrim and having the face of a historical figure. Yeah, like hasn't been done. And it's actually pretty cool to see that. We get to see this horror character that's like different from the rest. He brought a uniqueness to it, and he also brought like a satire and also dark humor to it as well, which I actually liked. Because, you know, if it was like a typical ordinary slasher, I would have been like, eh. But the dark humor is pretty good in it. Sometimes takes itself too far. I think there was one time I thought took too far, which was we're going to talk about now because I want to say it, is the parade scene. The parade scene was actually like a point where it went from an 80 to a 100 that went like over the top. Like, Jesus Christ, I think you should have toned it down a bit. And he had the moment where this was the moment that was in the trailer. In the trailer, it was the parade scene, and of course, there was a person who was the turkey mascot, and then his head gets chopped off. Of course, that was the scene in the trailer. And, you know, you thought it would be like typical because all of them are like, hey, there is a killer that's dressed like a pilgrim. We should take him down, and everyone's dressed as pilgrims, and it was like we gotta search out for a pilgrim, and everyone's very suspicious. Which one is it? Because they're all wearing the mask, they're all wearing these outfits, and, you know, subverting the expectations. The killer doesn't wear that outfit and wears like this clown outfit and cuts the turkey's head off. Honestly, pretty smart about that because it's like, yeah, how could you miss a guy that's probably dressed as this killer? And yeah, of course, you wouldn't expect the clown. You wouldn't expect that. You're like thinking, whatever. Like, all of a sudden, clown, cut your head off. And then everything goes hectic at that point. And you can see in this that the whole movie, it shows that he only picks and chooses which one he wants to kill, and it's mainly people this killer wants to kill, who were involved in the Black Friday incident. And the Black Friday incident was an amazing scene. I think it was like the best scene in the movie that I felt like it was horror mixed with real life of what happens in Black Friday. People beating the shit out of each other for stuff that seems very silly to fight over, like a waffle iron, which, yeah, there's like one line in the movie like how bad do you fucking want this? Like, Jesus Christ. Hey, it's not like it's gonna go anywhere. Like, it's not like it's gonna change your life or something. It's just cheap irons, for fuck's sake. And everyone's like being hostile, grabbing them, wanting these things, and seeing them like just fighting each other, even killing two people in the store, breaking someone's hand. That's how it got like hectic. Everyone didn't give a shit about a guard that was under like this broken door. They just kept trampling on him. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And this one woman who was like trying to crawl away from safety gets her fucking neck snapped by two shopping carts. And then hair gets ripped off that her whole ass scalp almost came off. I was like, Jesus Christ. And I was like, as soon as like that title card comes up, I was like, that was awesome. That was cool. I feel like that's going to be talked about the moment everyone walks out of that theater. I feel like that's going to be the most talked about scene. But the sad thing is, I talked to Mia about this, and I was like, that scene was cool. I like that scene. And she was like, yeah, but it's outdated. And I was like, what do you mean outdated? And I heard that Black Friday never happened this year. Like, no one went to stores to get stuff for Black Friday. And I was like, seriously? And I was shocked about that because, like, so no one's doing that anymore. And apparently, it's because online shopping, I guess the pandemic has changed a lot of stuff. And stuff has become the new norm. Yikes. I still think it's a creative scene, especially it's probably horror for a lot of employees working at retail, seeing that shit happen. So, you know. But yeah, as I said, that everyone that was involved in the Black Friday stuff that caused almost like the murders of like a lot of people and everything, there was one person in particular that didn't deserve it. And I'm saying this because this killer has tranked like so many people that weren't on his list of people to kill. Essentially, he just uses a tranquilizer dart on them, and he's like, so they won't get in his way, and then just like, okay, I'm gonna kill the person that I want to kill. I'm just tranquilizing you guys because you're not on my kill list, so be lucky for that. And but one person ate it. That was like, I was like, kind of like, that got too far right there. And there was this old man, and apparently he was a grandpa, and he had his granddaughters in like the truck. Like something went off, and then back of his head, he gets nailed by the fucking, I think, boat, and then whole head caves in. Awesome shot, honestly. I thought that was cool, but seeing those kids, seeing their grandfather getting killed, I was like, I don't know. There would be like, because I was like thinking like, yikes, that was a bit much. Because usually you just want to see the people getting killed who are the ones that deserve it, who are like, oh, fuck them. I don't care about them. Usually it's like that. But then there are moments where there are people that you're supposed to care about, even though their, personality is the equivalent of a Barbie doll. Just, this is their occupation. This is what they are. This is this is their stats. This is their bio. That's all you need to know about them. And there's little to no character what they are, but just teenagers. And that's it. There are the asshole teenagers, and there's the final girl. And that's it. And that's it. But seeing that, I was like, that was a bit much. I mean, it was a cool shot, but that was a bit much. I don't know how to feel about that one, Chief. And and now here we're gonna say, like, was this better than the trailer version, or was this inferior? I say it was better. I say, like, this was more bloody, this was more gory. I mean, the aesthetic of it being a 70s horror film was a bit more better than it being just a modern day film, which, it would have been cool if it was, but hey, the Grindhouse films that they made were technically put in the modern day setting, but filmed like it was made in the 70s or whatever. Like Machete did that, Planet Terror did that, Death Proof did that, Hobo with a Shotgun did that. All of them had like a fake trailer feel that it felt like this was made in the 70s or 60s or 80s, blah, blah, blah. But they are in a modern day setting. And you would only know this because they have cell phones. And if I'm pretty sure if this movie was made during like 2010s era, definitely cell phones would have been used in that film, just like the other movies of the Grindhouse genre was. Yes, which I feel like it had to be a trend. Set it in the modern day setting, and then boom. Though I feel like the one movie that wouldn't make sense is Werewolf Women of the SSS. But then again, I could be wrong. But then again, and Rob Zombie does like to put his movies in a past setting, except for the Halloween remake. But whatever. um, but I say this was better. And then there was like the kill where everyone knows this kill. This kill is iconic in a way of like Jesus Christ. that that hurt. Even if you weren't a woman, you still felt it. And it was a shot where, two people, like probably, two lovers, two partners basically. One girl who's a cheerleader jumping on a trampoline, about to do a striptease, slowly gets naked, takes off her underwear first, takes off her top first, and then, you see your boobs and everything. And let me say this in the movie part before I talk about the trailer one. Movie part, you don't see her naked like in the trailer, which I was like kind of thinking like, huh. I was very shocked. I seriously was very shocked. I'm like, I'm watching an Eli Roth movie and there's no nudity in it. That's odd. Or anyone talking about sex or their dick for a few minutes. It's like, has he matured? Like, has this man matured throughout the years? Has he changed? I'm serious, it kind of shocked me seeing that. Like, you only see her backside exposed and that's it. And I was like, huh, okay. And the like in the shot, the killer has killed one of the dude. He snaps his neck and he puts his knife under the trampoline as she's jumping, waiting for her to be penetrated by the knife. And she gets stabbed in her Achilles tendon, and then she slips and falls and gets stabbed in her back. And she's bleeding a lot. And I was like feeling like it was a cop out, or to me I felt like it felt very tame in a way. I mean, it's not like I'm saying no, I want the more graphic one. I'm kind of am, but like it was like kind of felt like it's not just that, it's the feeling of it felt rushed. Like, oh yeah, we gotta do that scene. Like, that's what I feel like what happened. It's like Eli Roth was like thinking, oh yeah, we gotta do that scene that I did in the trailer. Right. Okay. Gotcha. And he's like, I don't want to do it. It's like, let's just bang this one out quick and then just get on to the next scene. That's what I felt like. It just felt very rushed. There was like no build up to it. There was no like any like tense moments leading up to it. It was just like, let's rush it out and get it done, and that was it. And if you're wondering what happened in the trailer, she gets topless, she goes commando, knife is under the trampoline, she does, and again, she's a cheerleader, she does the splits, and the knife goes up, well, in Main Street. And even if I'm not a woman that I still feel pain. That's like, I don't think anyone wants to feel that at all. But I want to get over this review. Like, they do some shots of the trailer that I like that they did. Some they took out one, in particular, and I was like, okay, I can live without it. Um, and but there was one part I was like, okay, that's done better because I honestly did not want to see that part. I said that. I was like, I'm glad they changed that part because honestly, that would have been just gnarly to see. And it was when they cooked up someone and presented them as a turkey. Now, in the movie, clothes are on, no nothing exposed or anything. Trailer, everything exposed, and it looks disgusting. It looks gruesome. It looks horrifying, and for some reason, no joke, some reason, I could be crazy, or I'm probably right. The fucking pilgrim at the end of the trailer fucks the turkey, and I was like, what the fuck? Why? And it was like, thank God they didn't try to work that in. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I was, thank God they didn't try to work that in somehow. But they worked it in a better, more story point of it, and that was good. But yeah, whole movie is fucked. It's gory, it's violent, it's reminiscent to like both 90s and early 2000s horror film slasher films, which I have a kind of a soft spot because I have grown up with those. They have scared me, and they have some kind of a spot in my heart that I like them, where I'm like, I missed that kind of slasher film, or I missed that kind of horror back in the day, where it felt very, you know, cheesy, very meh, like by the numbers horror slasher film, but something about them felt nostalgic, kind of like, here's the killer. It's like, because it does the same tropes as a 90s slash early 2000s horror film. It's like there's the mystery of wondering who is the killer. There is like the obvious suspects that you clearly know that they're too obvious to be the ones to do it. And then when you finally see who kills them, it's like this out of nowhere surprise killer that you were wondering, but why would they do it? And you won't know the reason why they did it until they explain it. It's harking back to that, which I liked. Even the outro, like the final scene in the movie, felt very I know what you did last summer, where, where Jennifer Love Hewitt was like in the shower after thinking that the guy that killed everyone, like her friends and everyone, she thought that, oh, everything's safe now, we're not dead, no one got killed, blah blah blah. No, no, no. It, like, as soon as you see, like, I still know what you did, and he comes out of the fucking mirror and it grabs her in this clearly CGI shot of the fucking killer, which I thought was hilarious. Um, that happened. I thought it was terrifying back then, but me, now I find it silly. Um, and the ending did the same thing because they found out who the killer was, and then the final girl is sleeping in bed, thinking like, "What's going on?" She checks in her closet, and she sees the killer burned and disfigured, by the way, and he is like grabs her and then tries to pull her in with her and tries to kill her. But the problem was with that scene to me, I thought that just like the parade scene, it did too much. I felt like less is more, less is more. Uh, I would rather prefer you just only decapitate a fucking turkey's head, dude in turkey outfit's head, and that would be the end of it. But you had to do fucking more, which is like, I wish you did less. And here with the ending, I wish they did less. Because just like I know what you did last summer, it's like, It ends with the killer nabbing Jennifer Love Hewitt, and she's screaming at the end. Now, the sequel of that movie, uh, made explained that that wasn't the killer. That was just Jennifer Love Hewitt having nightmares, and that was it. And and that was the whole story. Like, she had nightmares of the killer, and that's why the ending made that's why the ending made sense. It was just a nightmare that she had. Here, they tell you she had a nightmare in the most excessive way possible. And I said the man was horribly disfigured and burned because that's what they did to him at the end of the movie. And they said they never found the body. I didn't tell you what they did also. Here's the killer, burned and disfigured. But here's the kicker. He's on fire. And he pulls the final girl down with him just to burn her. Like it was a scene in Drag Me to Hell. But that's not the ending. The ending is that he grabs her and all of a sudden, boom, she woke up. She woke up. But the problem with that shot was like they didn't like filmed a different scene where she wakes up in cold sweats and like freaking out. No, they just used the same shot they used before of her waking up like nothing happened. She's like, I'm bored looking face. And that's what they did. That's all they did. They just reused a scene and then boom, credits. And I was like, why did you do that? You didn't need to do that. You didn't need to do that at all. That was unnecessary. Like, you could have just done an easy, like, here's the killer's face, disfigured and burned, and then grabs her, cut to black, and then credits. That's all you had to do. It's simple. But no, did the extra mile, which I felt like you didn't need to do the extra mile. Less is more. Just saying. Less is more. Like, you didn't go excessive. It was decent. It was fine. I had a good time watching it. The dark humor was funny. I think my favorite slasher moment was when he killed a dude by decapitating his head. And then he noticed that the person he killed had a cat. And the cat was like sitting next to his bowl, clearly looking like he was hungry. And the killer was like, shit. And then he pours the food in the bowl for the cat to eat, pets the cat, and then leaves. I was like, well, he's a killer, but he's certainly not a monster. So yeah, I give this movie a 6 out of 10. Probably Eli Roth's best work. It took him how many years to finally make a good movie? Let me be more specific. A good horror movie. But this one's not good. The one I'm going to talk about now, it's Black Christmas, the 2006 remake. This is my first time watching it. And before you ask, no, I never saw the original. I saw a review of it, and I thought, yeah, that movie is seems scary. I should probably watch it when I get a chance. And, it did look interesting, but I really wanted to see the horror remake because I was, like, curious about it, of how stupid it might be. And it is goddamn stupid that I laughed so hard watching this film. I don't know if it was the point of the movie to be humorous, And this is from the director and writer, or one of the writers, of the Final Destination movies. And clearly he likes using Mary Elizabeth Winstead in his films because he directed Final Destination 3, which kind of recommend that one's a better horror movie that he directed than this one. So yeah. And this film is weird. It stars a killer who has jaundice. He has yellow skin, and I really don't want to talk about what happened. Okay, maybe we will, just to get it out there quick. He has a house that he had a bad childhood in. His father died by his mother's hands. For some reason, the mother kept the kid and locked him in a basement for all his life. Sexually assaults the kid, by the way, just so she can have a proper baby. What the fuck? Has a fucking incest baby. An incest baby. So dumb. So dumb. And then they just have a murder spree around the house, killing each of these fraternity girls one by one. Now, bear with me now. Did I watch this because it had Mary Elizabeth Winstead in it? And that was my only reason? Well, you caught me. Yeah, that was the only reason why I watched that movie. But I was hoping that there would be something interesting about it. I could tell you this much. Yeah, I still think this is a better movie than fucking Black Christmas 2019. That movie was awful. There was no enjoyment with Black Christmas 2019. It was a horrible movie. It was a terrible film. I hated it so much that out of spite, even though this movie is dumb, stupid, there is that nostalgia factor of 2000s horror films back in the day that brought me to enjoying a bit of it. Would I watch it again? Nah, I wouldn't. And if you forced me to choose which version I want to see that isn't the original, I would choose this one in a heartbeat than seeing that piece of shit 2019 garbage that people were subjected to. It was fine. 3 out of 10 for me. There's not much I can say about it. It was just Mainly because I'm trying to quickly get this video out so I can, hopefully have a video out today so, I don't worry about lagging behind on schedule. I mean, you know what it is. But let's go to the next film that I saw that excited me when I heard those two beautiful words, John Woo. Hearing that name again, I felt happy. John Woo was the best director in the 90s when he came to the States, when he came to America. I mean, he made a lot of cool Hong Kong action films like Hard Boiled, but he had a lot of good 90s American films that he made. Like Hard Target, Paycheck. I did like Paycheck. Hard Target, Paycheck. Definitely not Mission Impossible 2. No, that movie was trash. And he made his crowning achievement action movie that I think is the best one that he's made, and I still think it's one of my favorite action movies in the 90s, and that's Face Off. You will not find another movie that has the best American cheese of your life to see a ridiculous movie like that, because let's face it, I don't think any other John Woo movie, maybe Hard Target, but any John Woo movie back then, or right now, um, could pick a perfect name like Castor Troy or Sean Archer. And this movie has the same freaking plot line to Face Off in regards of revenge. A father loses his son, and he wants to get revenge on the people that did it. That's it. That's it. That's the movie. And I was like, okay, but what's the twist about this movie? And then they say there is little to no dialogue in this movie. And I was like, okay, I'm interested. And it's also a Christmas movie. And it was like, sold. Okay, let's see this. And if you're wondering how much Christmas is in this movie, barely any Christmas. For people who say Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, they at least make some Christmas references in that film. And also, there was a lot of Christmas scenery in that film. Like Batman Returns had a lot of Christmassy feeling stuff in there. This movie, none. It doesn't even snow. There's no snow. The only thing Christmas you're going to see is Joel Kinnaman's shirt, his sweater, his ugly Christmas sweater, the fucking Christmas card, the Silent Night theme song playing in the background, and that's it. That's it. There's not a lot of Christmas. Also, the bad guy who is a drug dealer wears a Santa outfit, and he's doing cocaine while he's wearing the Santa outfit. I wish that was more entertaining than it looked, but it sadly wasn't. Was I disappointed with this movie? When it comes to the plot, yes. But when it comes to the action, it's damn amazing. Like, the action doesn't seem good at first, which I'm like, this doesn't feel very John Woo. But once Joel puts on that fucking long leather jacket that he has, and it's flapping through the air, it it reminded me of Castor Troy when he came out of the car and the wind blows that jacket, that long leather jacket back, and you see it flapping in the air in slow motion. I was like, that's awesome. That's what I wanted. I thought that was cool. And that's when the action starts to kick off. You start to see the whole John Woo-isms that you see in his action movies. And I was like, like the zoom in shot where he, with the bullet going into the gas tank and blowing up, and everyone around it is killed in the fire. It felt like that scene in Mission Impossible 2 where Tom Cruise did the same thing. That was honestly great. I actually like that. I was like, hell yeah. I was like applauding and everything. When the action scenes get going, they get going. They get entertaining. They felt John Woo-ish. Just seeing the gunshots, the bullets flying in the air. What fucking Kid Cudi dual wielding 2 pistols and going guns akimbo on everyone was awesome. That was cool. Was one lady who was the drug lord's girlfriend comes in with an Uzi and you see the wind blowing in her hair, and she's laughing and she's firing it away, aiming at nothing. She's like ha 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 ha, laughing, but you don't hear the laughing because again, this is supposed to be a silent movie. And then and you see her just like going insane with it. It was fucking insane. I loved it. And then you get inside the drug lord's freaking like room, and his room is like filled with these lights, these spotlights that like you like the projector lights you see, and you see it is surrounded by like these animated skulls everywhere. And he's got like these kind of like these Christmas ornament huge balls on his like ceiling as well. I thought it was so funny. He just comes in, just rips off the fucking Santa suit, and he just goes dual wielding as well, shooting at Joel Kinnaman's character. And he's like, brr, 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 brr. And I was like, this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. And then Kid Cudi comes in, and he shoots the dude as well. And then, you know, Joel gets his revenge. And I thought that was cool. That's the movie I wanted. Why do I not like it? Have there been other John Woo movies that start slow burnish? Yes, except Face Off. Yes, like Hard Target, I was scared that it wasn't gonna be the action fest I was looking for. And I was worried about that. I was like, oh no, is Hard Target gonna be boring? Because it was my first time watching it. This year, it was my first time watching it. Because when I heard John Woo was making a movie, I was like, okay, let's go and get. And also, Jean-Claude Van Damme being in Mortal Kombat 1. I was like, well, let's get the best of both worlds. Let's get a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie directed by John Woo. Found it, Hard Target. That movie had a slow burn also. Had a slow burn of like establishing the character and who he was, and also what his objective, his target is. And then as soon as the movie gets going, it gets going and you start to have a good time. And in that movie, it was fine. I was okay with the slow burn and knowing the characters and blah blah blah. I was okay with it, like, cause you know, I was like, it's an action movie of that time period. Of course, you're gonna, you know, have to do some waiting. However, Silent Night, when it tries to do the drama, the setting up of this of our character wanting to get revenge on those bad guys, those drug cartel, it is not good. Because there were so many scenes in that movie that don't make sense why no one's fucking talking. Like, for example, the cool action scene that I had with Kid Cudi, he was a detective. He's basically a cop. Why didn't he go up to Joel and say, "Hey, put the gun down, put your hands up, and get on the ground," or freeze? He didn't say nothing. Joel had to turn his head, and he's like, "Oh shit, there he is." Now, granted, the character that Joel plays, he loses his voice because he gets shot in the throat. Now, he has an excuse, and it's up to his acting to show his emotions, to show that the pain he's feeling, to show the determination he has to get vengeance on his son's killers. And I think Joel does a good job. He's not a bad actor. I think this was like an opportunity for him to show that he's got some acting chops on him. And he does a good job. Like the whole montage of him trying to be a badass, learning how to use a gun, learning how to fight, getting ripped, getting swole, learning how to drive a car for, you know, in case of high speed chase scenes. Like, how do you show this guy is determined to what he's doing without dialogue? And you see it slowly. Like, when you see him trying to use a gun for the first time, you see him being disappointed. You see his facial expressions of him being pissed, him being sad, being pissed and sad at the same time that he didn't get it right the first time. He missed the target a lot. And you see him being sad about that. You see him like, damn it. And he wants to try again. You see him teaching himself. You see him trying to be better at what he does. And then when you get to see the point where he's shooting the gun and actually getting the target, hitting it dead center, you see him like, yeah, I did that. I accomplished that. I did it. I'm ready. And then him in the car scene, he's trying to learn how to drift. He's trying to learn how to make like very high speed turns. And he always does this at like an abandoned place. And you see him mad where he hits a cone and knocks it over. And he's like, damn it, I can do better. And you see him do it better. And then you see this smirk. You see this smile in his face. Like, yeah, now I'm ready. Like, it's like moments like that where you're like, the acting, like the facial expressions come through that is that you would think would be used in dialogue, but you see him do it with his facial expressions, and I thought that was clever. That was good. I like that. Because you see like a kind of a growth happening, a character growth like happening with him, being like, okay, I'm determined, I can do this, let's fucking go. And he does it. However, when it comes to the drama scenes, and it's mainly between him and his wife, and him and like, you know, talking to other people and whatever, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's bad. Because there should be a moment where she should be talking to him and saying, like, all these things of how she's feeling and trying to give him words of, like, you know, clarity and hope or whatever, wisdom, but she doesn't. Like, you hear lines like, it's okay, it's okay. And of course, there should be lines of dialogue where she should be saying, hey, this and that and this and that. Like, I know you're hurting, I know you're bad. She says it later, but she says it via text, so it's like, ugh. And there's moments where she should be talking, like she should be saying something about like don't do this or whatever. Like there should be dialogue for that, but she doesn't. It's like it's crying, it's just standing there doing nothing. It's like moments where you feel like you should say something. You should be like, let's confront him and talk. But there's nothing. It just feels like, why? Why would you not say something? Why wouldn't you say something at that exact moment? It just feels phony. Like anyone would say something in a moment, seeing someone in pain and trying to talk things out, but it doesn't. There's a lot of scenes like that, especially like this one scene where it's like her final moments with him, where she's like, she couldn't handle him being like so blood hungry for revenge. And there's this moment where they're like cuddling next to each other on the couch before she leaves. And nothing is said. Like, nothing is said. It's just walking off silent until they reveal the twist. Surprise, she's leaving him. And it just feels like I'm supposed to feel something, but I don't. And that's the weird thing. I don't feel anything. And I feel like having no dialogue hurts the film's beginning. Because you don't have that dialogue, you don't have that setup. Like, the setup of him with his son. Like, I think the moments where you see the flashbacks of him and his son, and it's like, oh, look at us, we're happy. It's like we're in a Hallmark commercial. Ha 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 ha. Those were good. It didn't need any dialogue. It just shows you that this is a man that actually cares about his son, his family, and that's it. And he's determined to do whatever to protect them or honor them. But when it comes to like scenes like him having a drama, having drama, or with his between him and his wife, it just feels empty. When it comes to like moments like him reminiscing of his son, it works, but stuff with him and the wife don't work. Stuff with him and the cop don't work because it just feels like stuff that you start to think to yourself, "Hey, this clearly needs a scene of dialogue. This clearly needs a sense of fucking logic," but there wasn't. It's like, well, we can't do this because it would involve dialogue, and we can't have that much dialogue in this movie. We're trying to make this a movie where they don't talk. And there's a problem with that. There really is. Like, there's so much of a problem with that. Like, some moments it is. Like, the action, you don't need the dialogue. That's good. But when it comes to, like, dramatic moments, you can't feel anything. You just feel You just don't care. And it kind of makes the movie boring and just like you get exhausted, you get tired, you feel like you need some caffeine to perk you up to get through the movie, and that's it. That's like it's a slog to get to. Like I talked about Hard Target being slow burn, but it was a slow burn that was like at least had dialogue, at least had a few moments where it kept you interested in the movie. But this didn't. Mission Impossible 2 also had this problem. Mission Impossible 2 was not this big action fest of a movie, this overblown action movie that people thought it was going to be due to the posters, the trailer, and the beginning of the movie where Tom Cruise is climbing up the Grand Canyon like a badass. And he's like, I did that stunt. I did that. I did that with no wires. I am that crazy to do that. And then the movie starts to become boring. Because Tom Cruise was, for some reason, trying to be James Bond. Like he was trying to be a James Bond character, trying to be a James Bond movie. If a James Bond movie was fucking boring and just tiring to see. Hey, and that was a problem. Like the chase scene that Ethan Hunt has with this woman was very reminiscent of GoldenEye, but GoldenEye did it better, and fucking Mission Impossible 2 just made it boring. And those movies had that problem. Face Off was like, fuck you, we're gonna throw you into the shit immediately. We're gonna pull you in with action immediately, and that's it. And Hard Target was slow burn, but hey, it was worth it in the end to see Jean-Claude Van Damme beat the shit out of Lance Hendrickson. Here, you just feel like I gotta get through this slog fest in order to get to the cool action stuff. but you had to get through the boring action stuff that you've seen 100 times before. Like, there is the action, there is the, I call this the I haven't said it out loud before. I call it the John Wick shot. I call it the John Wick shot because it's a shot that's been done over and over and over and over and over before. All right. It can be also called the John Wick shot. It can also be called the Raid shot. The Raid shot or the Raid 2 shot. An action scene of two characters fighting each other, and they struggle a lot and they're fighting, and the camera, it has zero cuts and it looks like a long action movie take. I call it the John Wick or the Raid shot because it's so typical, because you see it in almost every movie that tries to fucking mimic it, and you're like already exhausted from it. Because John Wick or Nobody or The Raid, when those movies did it, it was interesting. It was cool because when they do those action shots, you already established the character. You already established everything about him. You already knew that he was thirsting for violence, and you're finally gonna get it, and you get it, and it is glorious. It's like a dessert that you've been waiting for after dinner. Here, when movies like Extraction, it doesn't matter which one, it's both Extraction movies with Chris Evans. When Extraction, this movie, does it, you're like, I'd rather see those movies instead. I'd rather see John Wick again. I'd rather see The Raid 2 again. When you see these actors trying to show that, look, they're struggling because they're fighting, and they're like in this heated moment where they're trying to make sure that they are the one that survives in the fight, it just doesn't seem interesting at all. It just doesn't seem interesting at all. I could talk about a lot of scenes. Like the Raid 2, there were these two enemies from different sides. There were these two guys from different sides. One who was a undercover cop, the other who was a trained assassin who has been a thorn on everyone's side in this movie. They haven't met each other, but their confrontation is legendary because it was building up to that moment that they were going to fight each other. That you're gonna see, like, oh, these two seem like unstoppable forces. Who is gonna win in that fight? And that anticipation kills you. And when it gets to that scene, that's exciting because you are on the edge of your seat, tensed up, thinking, who's gonna win? Who's gonna come out on top? Freaking John Wick did that in multiple occasions in each movie, and they're still interesting to this day, knowing like, oh, what are they gonna do? Who is gonna win? Who is the better one? Who's gonna get the most shots in? That's like the biggest thing of wondering, because once they find that they go mano a mano on each other, it's interesting because it's the build up at that point. Here in this movie, it's just some random shithead that he fights, and it's not interesting. It's just some random guy. He said, hey, I need information on the people that you work with. And it goes into a fight scene. And that fight scene is only started because fucking Joel was a dumbass to put the knife in the middle of the table for the guy to escape his bonds. Okay, granted, you can say this is his first time interrogating someone because, you know, he hasn't done that before, but still, it's like kind of a bland way to start like a big action scene that you wanted to show that, hey, I can do this shot. Let's do this shot. You don't save it for the final bad guy of the movie? No. Because the final bad guy, the one that he was trying to kill this whole time, he just gets choked out and dies until he can't breathe anymore. That is boring. I'm sorry, this is the weakest thing of John Woo's that I've seen. It is. I mean, yes, the man is 70 years old, pushing 80, mind you. This is probably his first time getting back into making an action movie, and it's not doing well. Hell, maybe it wasn't John Woo. Maybe this was some dude that thought, like, well, this movie's not gonna sell tickets. What are we gonna do? Let's lie to them and say John Woo directed. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be a dumbass saying that. But, like, it just, half of the moments didn't feel like John Woo. I mean, there was that weird shot where it kept zooming in on the wife's eyes, and I was, like, wondering, that was an odd shot. Wonder why they did that. And that was it. But most of the time, it just felt like the standard. And I feel like that's like the problem with action directors that used to be great back in the 90s, or directors that used to be great in their prime back then, but when they're forced to come back for a movie that maybe they probably didn't want to do, or maybe they saw what action movies or movies were like during the modern day, that they thought, oh, that's what people like, that's what people want. They assume that, and the movie's worse. They take out that unique style that they have about themselves, and they just ruin it because they think people want to see that. Not what I used to do back then. What I did back then is probably outdated. Freaking Lana Wachowski did it in The Matrix Resurrections, where people were thinking, hell yeah, we're gonna get some proper fucking action in movies. And then she starts to do what every action director does nowadays. Jump cutty action, shaky cam, and just boring as shit action scenes. And John Woo, if this is him doing this, he probably was like thinking, everyone likes John Wick. I'm gonna do a John Wick also with this movie. And even the music is John Wick. It's like this music's done by Marco Beltrami. Marco Beltrami! Dude who did the music for Hellboy and other Guillermo del Toro movies, and also, like, fuck, what else he did? 310 to Yuma, the Wolverine and Logan score? What? This man was like, I'm just gonna rip off the John Wick score and then call it a day. Even the music at the end felt very John Wick. It just felt like they were ripping off it. They were like hopping on the John Wick train and saying, we can do that too. As much as I said I love the action in John Wick and I was like happy we're getting action movies like this, some directors don't understand what made the action scenes in John Wick amazing. They think longer take action scenes are the way to go. It's not just that. You gotta have the style, the substance, the like actually inspiration. John Wick was inspired by a bunch of other action movies that came before it, that they took inspiration and paid homage to. They did that because David Leitch, what was David Leitch? He was a stunt choreographer when he did the fucking Matrix movies. He knew how to do that song and dance. He knew how to make an action film. Hell, When he did Deadpool 2, I thought that maybe that it was the weakest one, but hell, at that point, the man knew what he was doing with when he had deleted scenes of that film that was like, oh, he actually did a shot like that. So, I wonder why they cut it, which was weird. But he did that. He did that with freaking Deadpool 2. He did that with Atomic Blonde. He did this with freaking Bullet Train. There were a lot of good action scenes in the movies he directed that were actually fun because he had the style of it, the inspiration. He was a stunt choreographer, for fuck's sake. He probably studies a bunch of well-known action movies in Chinese cinema or Japanese cinema or any kind of Asian cinema, regardless. And that's what he did. Everyone only thought of one thing when they made an action movie. I want to be like John Wick. That's all they thought about. I want to be John Wick. We've seen this in many movies. The freaking Liam Neeson movie, The Commuter, did the same thing because they knew that, hey, we gotta step up the game. We gotta be like John Wick because that's the popular movie that people want to see in an action film, not this jump cutty shaky action. But when you do that, the long shot take action scenes and everything, you either have to do something that makes it interesting because you either come off as a good action scene or just a boring action scene that you want done already and you just want to leave. And a lot of that movie feels like that until like the third act, when the second half of the third act, mind you, actually. And then when the third, and then the final half of the fucking third act, it just becomes boring again. And it just like a rushed ending. Like a rushed ending to say, we're done with this movie. We don't know what to do else. Bye. I got too passionate with this. I don't know why. I got too passionate with this because every time I've seen an action scene in movies that just want to mimic John Wick with no fucking ambition or creative substance whatsoever, I just clock out immediately. Extraction 2 might have a cool action scene where it's filmed like it's one shot where they're in the prison. And yeah, cool, you made that scene. Kudos to you, sir. You made a long take action scene that seems cool, but despite it being cool, it's just boring. I don't know why people think the Extraction movies were interesting. To me, they're boring. They're just boring action films that just felt meh to me. That when they were introduced, I just didn't care at all. It's insane because you need something interesting to keep someone going with an action scene. It's not the camera work. I mean, sometimes it is, but it's not just the camera work. It's your creative style that also shines through, that makes people want to go back and watch those scenes again. Not because, oh, how long can we make a longer one take shot of an action scene? Not, oh, how long can we hang on to this shot of these two people fighting? It's not that. It's absolutely not that. It is about creative input. Creative input. And I feel like none of those movies have that. I mean, you promised me John Wick like action, you better deliver it with a creative spin, not this boring mess that you send my way. I'm sadly giving Silent Night a 4.7 out of 10. It wasn't that great. Maybe John Woo should just stay retired or stay not directing for a while. I don't know. I like the man, but maybe it's time to hang it up. I mean, he made a comeback, but the comeback wasn't that great. Like, hey, if he makes another movie and it does look interesting and hopefully better, then sure, I will go and see it and hopefully it'll be good, but I don't know. What a way to cap this off, huh? But anyway, yeah, that's it. I should probably get to making a Photoshop of an image of me talking about these movies with the posters next to me. And yeah, and hopefully do something else after that. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Next, the next Christmas movie I'm gonna review, hopefully when I find the time to do it, is The Mean One. Yeah, the Grinch horror movie. I'm finally gonna see it. See you guys in the next one. Ciao, darlings, and remember, you are loved.
Ow, ow, ow! Ow! Ow!